this world reveres, and wars to all I once thought gain, I now counted lost, strength and worthless now, compared to this, knowing you, Jesus, knowing
morning to you all. Today is a wonderful day here in Bangalore, and we hope that you have a good day today, also a good week this week. We had a very inspiring Bible study last Wednesday. It was on resolutions and what kind of resolutions we would make, we should make, and things connected with the choice of resolutions. Today, we will look at in the message how we can succeed in keeping those resolutions. Now, if there's anyone who wants to join us in the Wednesday Bible study at 8 o'clock, you're welcome to contact us on the uh, email address that is given in this video recording, and we will let you in into the Bible study. Even we have worship between 10 to 10:50 on Sunday before the video. And if you want to join that also, you can contact us on the same email address and we'll let you in. A lot of jokes are made about New Year resolutions, partly because they don't last, and partly because many people do not take them seriously. Many do not even make resolutions for the new year. Here are some of the latest jokes on resolutions. One is, my New Year's resolution was to lose weight. So far, I have lost my motivation to lose weight. Then there is an older couple talking about New Year resolutions. Husband, this year I resolve to procrastinate less. Wife, honey, today is January 10th. Husband, see, I'm better already. Last year I made the same resolution on February 15th. Calvin is angry about New Year's resolutions. He shouts at Hobbes, resolutions? Me? Just what are you implying? That I need to change? Well, buddy, as far as I am concerned, I am perfect the way I am. Jokes aside, here is some good advice on resolutions. Be happy with what you have while working with what you want. And another one, instead of trying to change your entire life in January, the simple strategy is to adopt a 12-month plan where you're making constant improvement. Another one, take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. My New Year's resolutions for 2020 went sideways. I plan to do prison ministry with a friend who was already in it, take a cruise with my wife for our anniversary, celebrate my birthday with family in an exotic place, do some home improvement, and spend more time with the family. As I had planned to hand over most of my regular responsibility to the next generation of leaders. Only two of these worked out, namely spending time with the family and home improvement, because we were hit by a pandemic, the likes of which I have never seen in my lifetime. If the year 2020 disrupted our entire schedule and changed our lives drastically, 2021 does not seem to hold much promise. With the vaccine that held promise and hope by the end of last year, we see a new variant of the virus that is supposed to be 70% more contagious than the old one. Wearing a mask, using sanitizer frequently, and social distancing, however hard that was, what will follow may be harder. So, in spite of everything that is happening around us, what can we do? Can we resolve to do this year that will make our year profitable, fulfilling, and enjoyable? Let me say from the start, our choice of resolutions and how we execute it may reveal more about us than we can imagine. Ask ourselves the questions with the goal of learning what worked and what did not work before setting our goals for 2021. What did we achieve in 2020? What worked and what didn't work? That's the first question. Number two, what worked in 2020 vis-a-vis our resolutions? Did we make some difficult resolutions and succeed in making headway with them? Why? Number three, what new habit did we want to get into and have made headway with it? Number four, did we invest on ourselves and succeed? It could be changing our diet to live a more healthy life, or exercise more, or sleep. It could be any of these things that we would like to have for our own self improvement. When we invest in our bodies, minds, or spirits, we destroy our most essential tool for leading the best life. Investing on our bodies, mind, and spirit may not help us to live longer, but it will surely help us to live a happier and healthy life. Investing in prayer, Bible study, and meditation can be the best investment we can make as a Christian. And number five is, what do we want to experience more in 2021 that we already experienced in 2020? It could be eating more home cooked meals, working in the garden, exercising, working on hobbies, spending more time with our children's studies and extracurricular activities, playing games together as a family, studying the Bible together with the family, making more meals together, to name a few. There are many that we could come up with, many that I'm sure many of you would have thought about. In making resolutions for the new year, we need to look back at what worked last year and what didn't work before setting our goals. Make the goals, habits, and resolutions simple and realistic, and something that will excite and hold our interest. Research has shown that just dreaming about what we would like to do without actually starting to do it reduces the odds that we will achieve them. Make specific plans, map the potential obstacles that may face, and find ways to make the process enjoyable. To give you an example in my life, and I'll be putting in a few examples that worked in my life. It may not necessarily work in your life, and you have to come up with something that does work, but it'll give you some ideas of what I did in my struggle in making resolutions and keeping them, and what may help you in the examples and the illustrations that I give. To give you an example, I thought exercising was boring when I was young. But in my teens, I dreamt of having a good physique. And I knew that if I had to achieve that dream, I have to exercise regularly and intensively. But I didn't exercise at all. I had one problem when I was in my teens. I suffered frequently from common colds. After many failed yearly resolutions on exercising, I ultimately started and found that I suffered less and less from the common cold. This gave me the added motivation to work out till it finally became a habit. At my present age, the motivation to exercise is less, but I still look forward to exercising by watching an educational program on TV while exercising. I do not watch movies when I'm exercising because when the movie gets exciting, you forget about exercising and you just watch the movie. And that's really not good because I want really to do exercise and not watch movies. The illustrations that I'm giving you here are my personal experiences, but I tried partly by accident to try to make anything that I did. that did not seem to be something that I wanted to do more palatable and more enjoyable by adding something that was fun for me. In this particular instance, I felt I was killing two birds in one shot. One is I was exercising, and the other, my body. At the same time, by watching an educational program, I was exercising my mind also. So I felt that was good, and I continued to exercise. When done correctly, setting goals and making resolutions can shape our behavior for the better. The good habits we acquire can make us feel happier, healthier, holier, and more connected with those all around us. These are worthy goals in any year, whether we are in a pandemic or not. So let us look at specific steps that we can take to ensure that we are more successful at making resolutions and keeping them. Our resolutions and how we keep them may reveal more about us than we can imagine. It will also help us understand ourselves better and help us make goals that are realistic and achievable. So I've got 10 steps or 10 thoughts or ideas that if we implement them in our lives will make keeping resolutions easier. Number one is before we start, let go of our past. So I spoke a little bit before this about analyzing what we did in the past and learn from the lessons that we learned. That's good and that's fine. But then there is going to be a time, and when we start this year, as we are in the beginning of this year, we should forget what happened in the past and move ahead. Philippians chapter 3, there's a very interesting verse in the Bible that advises us in this regards. It's in Philippians 3, verses 13 to 14. Philippians 3, verses 13 to 14. Here, Paul is telling us, brothers, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining towards what is ahead, I press on towards the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenwards in Christ Jesus. When it comes to making resolutions, let us think of all the times we have tried and failed. Research what research has shown is that 88% have failed to stick to their resolutions to change. We fail to change because our brains crave routine and resist change. From the higher economical bracket, many committed suicide last year because their routine was disrupted. It is very discouraging to try to do things differently, only to find ourselves falling back into the old patterns. Criticizing ourselves when we fail does not actually motivate us, but only results in diminished future improvement. Forgive ourselves, leave the past behind, and move forward. This is very important for us to consider. Otherwise, if we look back at what we've done in the past and how many times we failed, we will fail to move forward into the future. Number two is choose rewarding targets. The goal we pick necessitates relentless hard work or reminds us of our mortality in a way that makes us feel small instead of grateful. Even though we consider ourselves rational human beings, logic does not motivate us as much as emotions do. Now, these things and these thoughts about this have come from a psychologist who have studied these issues and the mind of and psychiatrists who have studied the mind of human beings and they know how things work. And I'm quoting some of the things that they are saying. We approach what feels good and avoid what feels bad. Learning by accident that exercising, for example, in my case, regularly helped me resist frequent attacks of common cold motivated me to exercise regularly and was more helpful than exercising to build a good physique, which did not seem to happen at the level I expected it to. Doing something because we feel like we should or be forced into doing is stressful. and makes us seek comfort in the things we are actually trying to avoid. If I feel pressured to lose weight and work out to achieve this goal, it may result in me feeling hungry and binging on potato chips, for example, which will not help in me losing weight. We need to ask ourselves, why are we making this resolution? What is our motivation? Choose only the strongest and most enjoyable motivation and keep that in mind while we work on our resolution. Let's remember these very important principles. When we put it into practice, we'll begin to see a change in us. We'll begin to see us more often than not keeping our resolutions. So let us remember that number one is, before we start, let go of the past and choose rewarding targets. Number three, the power of habitual behavior. Habitual behavior that automatically helps achieve our goals make better self-improvement initiatives than shooting for an ambitious outcome. I love to drink tea and coffee with plenty of sugar very frequently. To me, having tea and coffee without sugar seemed impossible. When I was found to have diabetes, I knew I needed to stop having sugar in my tea and coffee, but couldn't get myself to stop or even reduce on my consumption. I started, I took the bull by the horn, so to speak, and I started reducing the number of cups of coffee I drank and tea I drank every day. If I had an urge to drink a cup of tea or coffee, I substituted it with water instead. Gradually, I reduced the number of sugar in my tea and coffee and finally stopped. It was a struggle, but in the end, after the sugarless teas and coffees became a habit, tea and coffee without sugar seemed natural and normal for me. Our habits lead to our achievements. Once something becomes a habit, no willpower is required. Take small steps on a habit, no matter how unambitious, and stick to it. In this way, we are hard writing a good habit into our brain that we can build on later if we want to. Let us remember that we can do anything we want to do if we set our minds to it. We can make anything we want a habit if we decide that we are going to do it. And we should do it by taking small steps, not being too ambitious in doing what we want to do. Number four, which is connected to number three, ditch the ambition. By nature, when I choose to do something, I want results, instant results. That's the way I am. I learned a lot by gardening. Okay, I I I grow plants in my garden, but I feel I'm impatient, waiting for some signs of development in the plants that I grow, even giving it one more leaf on that plant. And sometimes when I put a plant in the ground, I'm sitting there seeing nothing happening, and the plant is sitting there, and I don't see anything happening with the plant. I have sometimes almost uprooted those plants and thrown them away. And when I was on the verge of doing so, I would see it start blooming and flourishing. And it makes me thankful. I learned that if I am patient enough, I may get results. And this sometimes has made me thankful that I did not throw the plant away. After some time, I realized that while the plant seems to be sitting there and seeming to do nothing, it's not doing nothing. It is stabilizing itself. It is overcoming transplant stress that it faces. Whenever you transplant a plant, it causes a stress in the plant for some time. And while it seems to be doing nothing, it is growing a root system in the ground and strengthening itself and building a foundation to help the plant do better as it goes along. Once that system is completed, it starts flourishing, and we can see that it is flourishing. So we need to be patient. Ditch the ambition. We may want many things to happen fast, but everything good that takes time. It does not happen fast. We tend to be like the Aesop's hare instead of the tortoise. Remember, slow and steady wins the race. If we want a habit to stick, we need to start really small, build slowly, be patient, and we will not regret it. Number five, establish a routine. One of the problems I've had when I was diagnosed with diabetes was to take my medication regularly. I would forget, and sometimes even when I took the medicine, I would forget that I did. Before this time, I did not have to take medicines for many, many years and kept in fairly good health. Now, taking medicines regularly, and that too because it was essential to my well being, became an ordeal initially. I had to establish a routine which included medicine, and I needed a trigger to remind me that medicines had to be taken. I established a sequence for the day. My first activity for the morning triggered the next and the next. So when I had breakfast, it would trigger the need to take medicines. After that, the next activity and the next activity. Lunchtime meant no medicine, and at dinner, another dose. I forget to take my medicines when the routine is broken. When I'm traveling somewhere or doing something that is not part of the routine, I tend to forget some of the very important things that I need to do. Now, that may happen, and that's fine once in a while if that happens. No problem in that. But eventually, we have to make a habit of it. And it does become a habit that when we get up in the morning, we decide after breakfast to have our medicine if that is what we need to do. Also, make it a habit to get up each morning at a predetermined time and sleep at a predetermined time. Follow this routine as best as we can. Getting up late will disrupt that routine and make it difficult for us to be consistent. Number six, make the habit fun and fulfilling. Make the habit fun and fulfilling. We as human beings may think we are pursuing happiness, but in reality, we pursue rewards. We unconsciously connect an activity with rewards, like a snack we love, attention from a mentor, sense of accomplishment, or positive feeling. Our brains identify a potential reward, and this leads to the release of dopamine, a feel good chemical hormone. This motivates us into doing the activity with reward on our mind. This creates a sense of craving, wanting, or desire for the carrot that is dangling in front of us. We get into the good habit we need to get into a good habit we really need it to be rewarding. Once we achieve what we intend to do, and you will achieve what you intend to do, congratulate yourself. Even do a victory dance if necessary. Now that may sound crazy, but in reality, we are giving our brain a hit of dopamine, enough to tell our brain to repeat what we have done earlier. Make our activities fun, not a chore. One of my professors in theological college shared an experience in his life in forming a good habit. He wanted his first activity when he got up out of bed in the morning every day. His first activity that he really wanted to do or he desired to do was to pray. and he found it very difficult to do it because, to begin with, when he got up in the morning, it was cold and he did not want to get out of the blanket in the first place. And when he got out from under the blankets, he still felt drowsy and sleepy and was struggling to try to keep awake. And then he had to go and pray, and that became very difficult for him to do. Now he did not want to leave prayer for later because he knew exactly what would happen. He would go to the next activity, and before he knew it, the next activity and the next activity of the day, and prayer would be forgotten completely. He did not want that to happen. So what he decided to do is, when he gets up in the morning, every morning, he would go to the kitchen, put a pot of water on the stove, start heating it, light the stove to heat it, then come over and pray. He knew that after the prayer, he would be able to have his favorite cup of tea or coffee, which was getting ready on the stove. And that was a motivation for him to do his prayer so that he could have his cup of tea and coffee. If he told himself that he failed to do prayer in the morning, he would get no tea or coffee after that. And so that motivated him. After a while, it became a habit, and he did not have a problem praying in the morning as he had desired. Number seven, measure our progress. Measuring drives awareness of behavior. If we want to lose weight, apart from changing our food habits and exercising more, we need to weigh ourselves every day. Now you'll think, what is the point in weighing ourselves every day? Will there be any drastic change if we weigh ourselves every day? I don't think so. And may appear to be a waste of time, but in reality, it helps. One thing is that, supposing by any chance your weight changes drastically within one day, you can go back and analyze the day. You'll be able to remember what you did that day that increased or decreased your weight, whichever way it may be. But there's one more reason why you should weigh yourselves every day if you have the problem with weight, is it reminds you and makes you aware that this is an important thing for you to do. If you record it, and if you record what you eat, for example, in a journal, you will be more aware of what you should eat and what you should not eat because you're keeping a record. It's telling you every time that this is what you need to do. Most of what we do realize is unconscious. What we do is unconscious. Measuring our progress is about making ourselves conscious of our bad habits while we train ourselves to unconsciously act on the good habits. In today's day and age, we have many instruments to track our daily routine. We have wristwatches that record the number of steps we take a day, the number of calories we consume, our heartbeat, blood pressure, and stress level. Some of the high-end watches even warns us when something is going wrong in our bodies. Most of these gadgets, however, turn into gadgets where we can play games and do all the other things, the wrong things that we should be doing, rather than using it to help in us in our resolutions and in our bodies and the progress we need to make. Mark Twain once said, most people use statistics the way a drunkard uses a lamppost, more for support than illumination. It is so easy to forget to grow when we should be using every means to grow. We are easily distracted by our surroundings, sometimes because of our friends, because of whatever issues or things that we have in our life. They can easily distract us and take us away from what we should be doing, and especially our spiritual growth and development as we go on from year to year. Second Peter chapter 3 verses 17 to 18 tells us, Second Peter chapter 3 verses 17 to 18, but you friends are well warned. Be on guard lest you lose your footing and get swept off your feet. by these lawless and loose talking teachers. Now, it can be teachers, it can be anything that may divert your attention from what you're supposed to do. Grow in grace and understanding of our Master and Savior Jesus Christ. Glory to the Master now and forever. So here is very good advice to us. Proverbs chapter 4, verses 18 to 19. And all these scriptures are taken from the Message Bible, my favorite Bible, which I use very often. I find it very inspiring and useful. Proverbs chapter 4, verses 18 to 19. The way of right living people glow with light. The longer they live, the brighter they shine. But the road of wrongdoing gets darker and darker. Travelers can't see a thing. They fall flat on their faces. So, just 1 minute. So my computer stuck. That's why I had to sorry about that. So let us measure our progress. That's very important. The 8-1 principle is create a support system. Create a support system. No man or woman is an island. And when we establish a new habit, it is best not to go about it alone. Have someone who will help you by making you accountable and acting as our willpower when our self control falters. So don't hesitate to take a good friend's help especially when you're trying to create a good habit, a really difficult habit to create, but you want to actually have that habit, use the help. It could be your parents, it could be your brothers and sisters, it could be a friend, and ask them to make you accountable by checking on you and making sure you are keeping the resolution you want to make. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, the glory of friendship is not the outstretched hand, nor the kindly smile, nor the joy of companionship. It is the spiritual inspiration that comes to one when we discover that someone else believes in us and is willing to trust us. A good friend will be willing to trust his friend and be willing to help the friend, however difficult it may be. Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 to 25 tells us, let's see how inventive we can be in encouraging love and helping out, not avoiding worshipping together as some do, but spurring each other on, especially as we see the big day approaching. So let us not have just resolutions where we are helping ourselves. Let us make sure that some of the resolutions are resolutions where we want to help other people, that is going to be beneficial to others and not just for ourselves. First Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 11. First Thessalonians 5 verse 11 says, so speak encouraging words to one another. Build up hope so you'll all be together in this. No one left out, no one left behind. I know you're already doing this. Just keep on doing it. In other words, make it a habit to help others, to be encouraging to others, to be comforting to others, to be helpful to others. Make it a habit and you will do it automatically. It will not be a chore, it will be a joy to do these kind of things. Number 9, don't allow failure to frustrate us. Don't allow failure to frustrate us. Comfort ourselves. I have often woken up in the middle of the night thinking about all the things I need to do when I am awake. At this point in time, many things that I've forgotten or I've only left half done comes to mind. And when I think about all these things and when they are in the forefronts of my mind, it makes it very difficult for me to sleep. But I have found a solution to this problem. Instead of letting my sleep be disrupted, I get up and write in my diary all the things that I have forgotten to do and I need to do when I wake up. And then I go back to sleep. And believe it or not, it works. I can sleep after that. Mahatma Gandhi said, I have so much to accomplish today that I must meditate for 2 hours instead of one. Very interesting principle. Number 10, take a nap. I think many of us will be happy to hear this, but it is important. Take a nap. We are better able to establish good habits with sleep for two reasons, two important reasons. First, even mild sleep deprivation makes our brain alarm system overact to stress. More stress equals more enticing temptations and less willpower. Second, sleep deprivation impairs the metabolic system by which cells absorb glucose so that we can use it as energy. Sleep is not a waste of time. If we want to achieve the goals of our life, we need to get enough sleep. Having 7 to 9 hours sleep a night is normal. If you are unable to sleep for at least 8 hours, try sleeping for 5 minutes more every night till we achieve our goal of the number of hours we have to sleep. Avoid watching an exciting movie before bed, playing video games, doing strenuous activity, arguing with one another, or anything that will increase our stress level. Start winding down 2 hours before bed. We have been called into the world to become conquerors, and the first step to becoming a conqueror is to conquer ourselves. Making resolutions and keeping them is good for us. Our first priority is to make good spiritual resolutions and keep them. This will involve giving up bad habits, practices, and connections that will tend to divert our attention from what is good. Revelation chapter 2, verses 14 to 17. Revelation 2, verses 14 to 17. But why do you indulge that Balaam crowd? It's talking about people who are really doing things, unrighteous people, sinful people who are going the wrong way and they really do not want to change. Don't you remember that Balaam was an enemy agent seducing Balak and sabotaging Israel's holy pilgrimage by throwing unholy parties? And why do you put up with the Nicolaitans who do not do the same thing? Enough. Don't give in to them. I'll be with you soon. I'm fed up and about to cut them to pieces with my sword sharp words. Are your ears awake? Listen. Listen to the wind words, the spirit blowing through the churches. I'll give the sacred manna to every conqueror. I'll also give a clear, smooth stone inscribed with your new name, your secret new name. We need to be conquerors and get rid of our bad habits and substitute them for good ones. That is the work. That's what we need to do. That's why resolutions can be good for us because it helps us conquer our bad habits. And they don't resolutions don't need to be done only on, at the time of New Year. You can make resolutions at any time of the year and don't just wait for the New Year. This year has been, in some ways, a blessing to us. I mean, the last year has been somewhat of a blessing to us, as well as things did go wrong in our lives. Let's look at the blessings more than the things that actually went wrong in our life. This year, we need to bless ourselves by terminating our connections with some people who, who mean no good to us and delete some of their cell phone numbers from our cell phones. Hanging out with wolves will make us start howling like a wolf. Make resolutions to improve ourselves and others we come in contact with. Saturate ourselves in the divine principles of God's Word. Delight in it and live in it. Our resolutions will succeed if we are God centered and we ask God to help us in our choice of resolutions and help us succeed in keeping them. Have a great year. Let's bow our heads in prayer. Our great God and eternal Father in heaven, our loving and most gracious God, our God who has conquered sin and made us free from it. Thank you for all the things that you do in our lives. Father, we've had a difficult year 2020 and you have given us a new year. Thank you for this year. We know that just like last year, there are many things that we are going to learn in this year, and we know that some of the things we learn through difficult times, through difficulties that we face, through challenges that we face. That helps us build patience, helps us to build understanding, helps us to empathize more with other people, and above all, helps us to be thankful for the grace, thankful for the mercy you show to us, and and even though we do not deserve any of it. Thank you for all that you do for us, Father, and we ask you to bless this new year with whatever you would want to bless us with. We know that we need to take the good with the bad, and we know that all that happens in our lives, if we stay close to you and we focused on you, all that happens in our life will turn for good only. So let us face, Father, and help us to face and give us the strength to face this new year, so that this new year will be a special year for us, a year that we will remember, a year that will have taught us many lessons that we learn. Help us to make good resolutions, Father, and inspire us in the resolutions we make, and then give us the strength to keep those resolutions. Give us the strength to put into practice some of the principles that we are learning that will help us. They are not by all means, Father, we know perfect. They're not by all means enough for us to succeed in everything we want to do. But we know that, Father, whatever little we learn and we put into practice will make a great impact in our lives. Whether it's resolutions, whether it's changing in habits that we want to change, that with your help we will succeed and we become better persons, happier persons, more fulfilled persons, and closer towards you and your kingdom. Thank you for what you are teaching us, Father. Thank you for the wonderful opportunities we have, Father, to interact with you, to be able to spend time with you through organized activities that we have in the church, as well as with organized activities we have personally in our families and in our personal lives. Thank you for all that. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be able to handle those many things. Thank you for giving us the facilities that we have, Father, that even though we are unable to travel and meet one another, we still see one another. We still are able to interact with one another virtually. Thank you for that, Father. It's been such a blessing to all of us. And we know that with everything that happens in our life and whatever difficulties we may face, you are always going to open doors for us to make things better rather than worse for us. We thank you for all your love, Father, for your grace, for your mercy, and the concern, the blessings that you give us regularly. Please continue to do so. And thank you for everything. And we ask all this in Jesus' holy and most blessed name. Amen.
Glorify God. Glorify God. Glorify God. Glorify
are bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body. For ye are bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body. And in your spirit, which are God's, which are God's, which are God's. For ye are bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body. For ye are bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body. And in your spirit, which are God's, which are God's, which are God's. Glorify God in your body, glorify God in your spirit, which are God's, which are God's. For ye are bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body. Glorify God. Ye are bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body. Glorify God. And in your spirit, which are God's, which are God's, which are God's. Glorify God in your body, glorify God in your spirit, which are God's, which are God's. Oh, glorify God in your body, glorify God in your spirit, which are God's.